everybody, this is Lara from Pure Elliott Wave. Bitcoin, Ethereum and XRP, I usually do those every day for you. They're just not doing anything new today at all. So look at yesterday's video. I could do the same and that would be really boring. What I'm going to do is start to work through all of the coins I have. I want to update my analysis for all of them. I'm going to give you 7 today. We're going to do Solana, Monero, Hedera Hashgraph, XNO, Nano, EOS, Shiba and VE Chain. Let's start with Solana. I have 2 Elliott Wave counts. My first Elliott Wave count sees cycle 1, cycle 2 complete, cycle 3 underway. I've got within cycle 3, I've got primary 1, 2, 3 and 4. I might want to move this down 1 degree in coming months. For now, I'm just going to leave it as is. I would move the invalidation point down here. Primary 4 can't move into wave 1 price territory above 26.4105, but I think that's probably too low. I think we probably need to have the invalidation point up here. Either way, I'm hanging on to this one and it's nicely positive for me. For the main Elliott Wave count, here's the end of primary 3, and primary 4 looks like it's a complete 3-wave structure. Let's get some labels in there. I don't know why I've got this big gap. This is Yahoo Finance data. It's usually pretty reliable. So here's my invalidation point, 79.0666696. How many sixes are there? Quite a few. Primary 4 could be complete down here, excuse me. Finding support just a little bit below or a little bit above the log function of the 0.618 Fibonacci ratio. It does look like a complete structure. And importantly, when you draw a channel around primary wave 3 from 1 to 3 with a copy on 2, it nicely contains this 4th wave, and it may also be containing this 4th wave. So let's redraw the channel using Elliott's technique around this whole structure, and I'd expect if primary 4 were to continue to find support at the lower edge of that channel, but I think it might well be over. From the low in December 2022, can I see any instances of parabolic growth up here? Let's have a look. Not up in here. Pretty good vertical upward movement, but not there. Yeah, I can see a little one in here. A little bit here. Oh, another little bit here. Okay, so a couple of small instances of short-term parabolic growth. I think that's interesting. Suggests that we might be having the resumption of the bull market, because you don't tend to see parabolic growth in bear market rallies. There's a good strong bullish engulfing candlestick pattern here for the 18th of April and some bullish long lower wicks. Support holding at 118, look for resistance on the way up at 168. The last couple of sessions as price moves lower, volume is declining. That happened again for the 15th, 16th and 17th of April. And then we had some good strong upward movement on the 19th of April. The bullish engulfing candlestick pattern doesn't have push from volume, but the next session did. So there is a little bit of strength up off that low. For Solana, there's a nice range for on-balance volume. I would be watching this one very closely, particularly that resistance line. It could have about 4 or 5 tests, depending on whether you count this and this. It's got at least 3 tests, if not 4 or 5. A break above that resistance line would be a reasonable bullish signal. Not too strong because the line's got a little bit of a slope, but it is long held and it has quite a few tests, so watch that resistance line particularly. ADX is telling us there's a downward trend at this stage for Solana. The previous upward trend did reach very extreme. RSI got fairly close to oversold though, so that also supports the view that that low could be in place. Money flow is still neutral. ATR starting to show some increase up off the last low. That supports the view that that low could very well remain in place. I think Solana is most likely in a new upward trend, and this technical analysis gives the Elliott Wave count some support. My Elliott Wave count for Monero, and I've got this really weird spike for the week beginning 10th of October. That's bizarre. I can see a complete corrective structure down here for primary wave 2, but it's really shallow. It certainly could continue lower. This is a double combination as well, and it doesn't have quite the right look. So this could be wrong. I could have this structure wrong. Primary wave 2 could continue lower. I don't have as much confidence in this Monero Elliott Wave count as I do for my Solana Elliott Wave count. Monero currently in a big consolidation with resistance at 151 and support at 112. Up off this low for the 6th of February, there's no bullish reversal pattern. The close of this candlestick looks like it's less than half into the body of this. There is a piercing pattern here and some bullish long lower wicks here about support at 112. But most recently it's downward sessions that are stronger than upward, and upward sessions, apart from up off the last lows, back in February there was some push from volume, but now there isn't push from volume, so Monero could continue a little bit lower. ADX tells us there's a downward trend, which is extreme but not very extreme. RSI is neutral. Did recently reach oversold, however, at the daily time frame for the 6th of February. That suggests that that low is likely to remain intact. Money flow is neutral, and ATR showing some increase recently in downward movement and now flattening off as prices moving sideways. A little bit on the fence about Monero, hesitantly saying I think it's most likely going to continue upward, but I'd say only 60%. Moving on, Hedera hash graph. My big picture Elliott Wave count sees an impulse complete here for a cycle degree 1, correction complete here for cycle 2. Within cycle 3, I've got primary 1, 2, and 3 unfolding with intermediate 1, 2, minor 1, 2, minute 1, 2, and now a big bearish upper wick on this weekly candlestick. So this is a pretty bullish wave count, but let's see if there's support from technicals for this for Hedera hash graph. So these lows for 30th of December 2023 and 1st of January 2023, there's a good strong bullish engulfing candlestick pattern at that low. It didn't have push from volume. But after that, we are starting to see some really strong upward movement. We've got this 31st of March 2023, huge spike in volume for upward movement. Again, spikes in volume for upward movement. Again, some spikes in volume for downward movement, but upward movement was still stronger. And now here, from the 30th of November 2023, we've got this little parabolic growth curve. And again, most recently, a little bit of, not clear, but almost parabolic growth. Starts out slowly, huge explosion at the end. I think for Hedera hash graph, I'm a little bit more confident that yes, those lows of 1st of January 2023 are likely to remain intact. For the short term though, it's essentially moving sideways. It's been in a huge sideways consolidation since 19th of February 2024. Resistance 0.155, support 0.098. And within this consolidation recently, it was a downward session that has a huge spike in volume. That's the strongest volume it's ever had. So for the short term, if not the long term, the volume profile is bearish. That's unfortunate. Now for the last 2 sessions, price is falling of its own weight. And there was a huge bearish signal from on-balance volume. Put a support line here, that's obviously broken. ADX, however, tells us there's an upward trend, not downward. RSI recently reached overbought after reaching oversold. It really is flicking around. The last time RSI reached oversold was 12th of June 2023, and those lows remain intact. So because RSI has recently reached oversold, I'd expect Hedera hash graph is possibly on its way up. For the short term though, I think it needs a pullback or consolidation to relieve extreme conditions. Moving on to Nano. It's in a huge consolidation. I have 1, 2, 1, 2 potentially. We could have A, B, C, D, E. A triangle could complete. That's another alternate idea, and then it could just cease to exist when the triangle is complete. So this could be a huge corrective structure. Or it could be a series of overlapping first and second waves. And I think it's overlapping first and second waves because there's some pretty bullish technicals, which is why I bought it. So within the start of this next third wave up, I've got 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's have a look and see what this looks like at the daily time frame. And we've got this really nice parabolic growth curve here from November 2023 up to the high of 14th of December. This is something you see in bull market movements, not bear market rallies. So this is another reason why I bought Nano. It looks like it is going to continue up for a bull market. So this structure for minute wave 1 has a really good fit. Nice triangle for the 4th wave. And now from this high to this low, I'm not convinced that this is a complete structure. It will subdivide as a double zigzag. Let's get that in there. The second zigzag is longer than the first. That's okay. Let's have a look at technicals and see if there's strength up off this last low for the 13th of April. This is not deep enough, I think, for it to be a bullish piercing pattern. Let's calculate that. No, it's not. It's fallen short by quite a margin. So there's no bullish reversal pattern at the low. Support at 0.935. If price breaks through that, look for next support just above 0.7. Resistance currently about 1.468. The moving average situation, bearish. The mid is below the long and price is below the long. The long's got a slightly positive slope though. Up off these last lows here, there's a really huge, strong bullish engulfing candlestick pattern for 20th of November with a huge push from volume. That's really bullish for Nano. and recent volume is really strong on upward sessions and declining on downward movement. There isn't a decent resistance line with any reasonable technical significance on on-balance volume for Nano, but there is a support line, low technical significance, but it's only got 2 tests, but it's somewhat long held and it's got a really shallow slope, so a break below that would be a bearish signal. If we see another test of it, that would increase the technical significance. The upward trend reached very extreme. It's now declining. We might need a continuation of the pullback to relieve short-term extreme conditions. RSI reached deeply overbought. It's nicely back in neutral, as is money flow. ATR was showing quite a strong increase as price was rising. Still a further increase now as price is falling, so volatility to the downside. I don't think this pullback is complete for Nano, and I think it needs to move a bit lower to relieve extreme conditions. So I think that this is going to move lower most likely, and we could actually, I think maybe I'm going to get rid of this and have a look and see, could this be a leading diagonal complete here? Really doesn't look very good, but it does meet all Elliott Wave rules. It just, the 2-4 trend line's been well overshot and actually breached, so it doesn't really have the right look. But it's possible, and I think that that might be a better explanation of what could be happening. I'd expect the pullback might be a minor degree second wave, could continue lower to be much deeper, but can't move beyond the start of 1 below 0.542813. EOS, I have potentially a complete corrective structure at the low of 13th of August, week beginning of, and the start of a third wave up at cycle degree. It's had a massive bear market. This looks like a corrective structure. It fits as a double flat, but it doesn't look like a normal double flat. We've got an expanded flat, X, and then another expanded flat. This could be true, and it didn't move beyond the start of 1, and this does look like a pretty good 5-wave impulse. So let's have a look and see, is there any strength up off the low of 13th of August to support that Elliott Wave count? Week beginning 13th of August, there's a dragonfly doji and a morning star, so there's bullish reversal patterns up off the low, support holding at 0.53, resistance at 1.4. At the last high, there's a very strong bearish engulfing candlestick pattern, and now there's some more downward movement. Look for support at 0.53. There is push from volume pushing price higher up off the low of 13th of August, so the volume profile is bullish, supporting the Elliott Wave count. The upward trend didn't reach extreme, and the positive DX line remains above the negative. The ADX line's getting pulled down a little bit. If this current pullback moves a bit lower, it'll set itself up for a new signal. RSI reached overbought. It's well back in neutral. There's room again for the upward trend to resume. Money flow's neutral. ATR as well as volume showing some strength up off that low. I think for EOS it may have found that low. There is a little bit of support from technical analysis for that wave count. Shiba, this one was a real gamble. I think I only put $100 into this just in case, and if I lose that, I will just absolutely not be concerned whatsoever. This was a chuck a little bit of money at it, leave it for a few years and just see what happens. Why not? A little bit of fun. I've got an impulse I'm labeling intermediate 1, potentially incomplete. 1, 2, 3, 4, we need 5. When that's complete, I'll be looking for a big pullback to last a few weeks. These candlesticks are so thin, there just isn't a lot of volume, not really enough for a decent Elliott Wave count, so I'm not going to spend really much time at all on the Elliott Wave count. Let's look and see if there's any bullishness in technicals. Golden cross back here in December 2023. The moving average situation is overall bullish. Price is finding resistance at 0.00003, support 0.00023. There was a period of exponential growth with a blow-off top to the high of the 5th of March. And now price is moving overall lower, sideways lower. This is a pullback. This looks like a pullback within continuing upward movement, most likely. This does look pretty bullish. The bias does appear to be upward. There's a nice range for Shiba on balance volume. Look for a break above resistance or a break below support. Draw your lines really carefully. A break above resistance would be a reasonable bullish signal. It's got 6 tests, very shallow slope, long held. That's a strong technical significance. Watch that one carefully for Shiba. The ADX line is declining. There's no clear trend. The DX lines are whipsawing. If the black ADX line can get below 15 and then rise up from below both DX lines and a low level, that'd give a really strong signal. I'd keep a really close eye on balance volume resistance and ADX in coming days and weeks for Shiba. RSI is neutral. It reached very deeply overbought The pullback has well relieved extreme conditions for both ADX and RSI. There's plenty of room again for that larger upward trend to resume if it's going to. Money flow got kind of close to oversold. It did previously back down here, and that was where we saw lows in place and then a rocket up to overbought for money flow. This market has incredibly insane volatility. That's another reason why I just chucked $100 at it, just to see what happens. ATR's increasing up off the last low. There is some strength in upward movement. I think this one might actually be in the early stages of the next trend. And finally, VE chain, which a lot of people have been asking for. First thing I note is this downward movement has a really good fit as a double zigzag, and the trend channel containing it, a best fit, is really clearly obviously breached. I think that this low for the week beginning 4th of June 2023 is likely to remain intact. So I've looked at some detail up off the end of primary wave 2. I've got a whole bunch of detail in here. I expect intermediate wave 1 may be incomplete. Now I had a target here for minor wave 3, and my target was 0.04678 to 0.049775, and it reached 0.054765. So the target wasn't high enough, and price reached reasonably above that target. That's another reason I don't like calculating targets for these cryptocurrencies. They usually just blow all my targets away. I gave up with Bitcoin in 2017, and I think I'd like to give up again, but you guys keep wanting me to calculate targets. So take them with a bucket load of salt, and if my targets are wrong, they're not usually high enough. I think we're looking for a fifth wave to complete a first wave. When that's complete, I think we'll be looking for a multi-week correction, pullback, consolidation for VE chain. Here is a beautiful example of parabolic growth here on VE chain, up off the low of 5th of February, up to the high of the 16th of February. I think this is a nice indication that VE chain is most likely in a larger upward trend. There'll be pullbacks and consolidations along the way. Volume also mirrors price. Volume strongly pushed price higher. That movement is extremely bullish. You see this kind of behavior in a bull market. You don't see it in bear market rallies. I think after that huge upward movement, we're just seeing a normal corresponding consolidation to relieve extreme conditions. The moving average situation's bullish, probably finding support about 0.38, below that about 0.34. I wouldn't expect lows below 0.034 at this stage. Overall, price is moving sideways, overall with some declining volume. ADX is at a low level, it's below 15, and it's below both DX lines. If the ADX line reaches 15, rising up from below both DX lines, it's going to give a really strong signal. Currently, the negative DX line is above the positive, so if ADX were to reach 15 at this stage, it would give a strong bearish signal, but they've been whipsawing. They could whipsaw again while ADX moves up. So watch ADX carefully. It's going to give a strong signal for VE chain. I think it's most likely to be bullish. The pullback has relieved deeply overbought RSI. RSI is a neutral. Money flow reached fairly deeply overbought as well. That's a neutral. Doesn't always get there, money flow. It's often a little bit slower than RSI. So ADX has set itself up for a new trend. RSI and money flow both deeply back in neutral territory. VE chain is setting itself up for a really strong signal. Volatility for the moment is to the downside. ATR shows that during this downward movement, volatility strongly increased. There's a bullish piercing pattern here for the 18th of April. There's a bullish long lower wick, almost a hammer candlestick pattern, although it's got a bit of an upper wick for the 19th of April. So there are a couple of bullish reversal patterns. There's a strong bullish engulfing pattern for the 20th of March as well. We could see a break below 38. If we do, I'd look for support at 0.034, sorry, not 34, 0.034. It looks like there might be a low in place for VE chain, but I'm only again about 60%. Slightly on the fence about that, leaning slightly more toward expecting an upward breakout sooner rather than later. But if we do see a break below here, as I said, 0.034, look for support there. The larger picture for VE chain, I do think, is upward though. That's it. I just can't do any more today. I'll keep working through the rest of I've got 14 more, I think, so I'll work through those in the next few days, early next week. Thanks everybody for your support. And if you haven't subscribed already, I recommend you do so, because I do cover Bitcoin, Ethereum and XRP Monday to Friday. I'm just not going to cover them today because they're just not doing much. So thank you for watching if you managed to get this far, and I hope everyone's looking forward to a lovely weekend.